TV. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? So, today was very interesting. We had a whole bunch of internal stuff that just went well, like really well. So I'm happy about that. But you guys know that I do a lot of work within, me and my team, we do a lot of work within the AI space, within crypto space. We do a lot of, management consulting stuff. That's the primary business. This is what we do. We try to help companies get from point A to point B. Sometimes we actually have to help them determine what point B is. Sometimes they know what point C, D, E, and F are, but they got to get to point B. I was sitting back and I was listening to a couple of interviews with a couple of people. One interview from the World Economic Forum was with Citadel's Ken Griffin. Ken Griffin gets out there and he's like, AI is outpacing reality. And I sat there and I'm like, oh my God, somebody freaking gets it. Somebody's on the same page as me. I'm freaking loving it. So I sat back and he goes, yeah, it smells like the dot-com boom. It's outpacing reality as $500 billion in tech spend raises red flags. $500 billion in tech spend. The amount of money that needs to be spent for some of these companies to actually become profitable is insane. It's insane. They're not there yet. They're not even close. Wait, before I continue, let me get to tonight's question. Tonight's question, what meme coin ETF just launched on NASDAQ today? Pepe, Dog with Hat, Shiba Inu, or other? And if it's other, drop it in the comments and let me know what's up. My man, Michael McCaskill, what's up? Thank you for letting us all know that you have invested in yourself. So anyway, I'm listening to Ken Griffin and I'm like, oh my God, he freaking gets it. He's like, yeah, yeah, it's, and he's not like laughing. He's not delivering it with a hee hee ha ha. He's delivering it with a kind of matter of factness. I mean, the amount of money that OpenAI needs to raise just to stay alive. I want you to think about that. Memory chips that are not made and being reserved for GPUs that are not made yet, that will go into data centers that are not made yet. There are charts that show all of the business deals that are going on and who touches who and how much of a circle jerk it is. And I'm waiting because all it's going to take is for it to all come crashing down. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. I know a lot of people are like, chill. It's like the dot-com boom. Do you remember the dot-com boom? Stop and really think about that. The dot-com boom or bust came from a whole bunch of people that had an idea that all of these companies were going to make it. Everything's rah, 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 rah. And a lot of those companies dropped dead. Few of those companies had their ideas brought forward by other companies, and those companies are doing well. They were ahead of their time, in other words. 6 Degrees comes to mind. 6 Degrees was much like LinkedIn, a networking application, a networking community. I used to be a member. All my peeps used to be members. And for some reason, they just went poof. And then later on down the road, LinkedIn came along and yay, everybody loves LinkedIn. Fast forward to today, and you have AI. You have OpenAI that is so broke. I know it's foul the way I'm saying it. They're so broke, meaning they can't project when they're going to be in the black. That's how I'm taking it. If you have to introduce ads on ChatGPT, you can't predict when you're actually going to be in the black. You outpaced yourself. And now that they've collected all of that data, burning down all the trees and all that stuff and killing everything, the first company to actually bring AI or some semblance of AI to the desktop for regular people, they might go kaput. My man, Rick Ritchie, thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself. They might go kaput. My man, Stanley, thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself. That's what's up. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, so remember yesterday, it was yesterday or the day before that we reported that OpenAI is trying to work on, it was this morning, is trying to work on the Middle East to raise $50 billion with a $500 billion valuation. They've been carrying that $500 billion valuation for a minute. So you have a $500 billion valuation, $500 billion is what you think your company is worth, or is what other companies are valuing your company at based on their buy-in. Cute. Anthropic is much smaller, and they can actually kind of see where they can go black. However, I think Anthropic is in the same bucket as OpenAI. They just don't have as much debt. They too will have to do a lot to get back in business. So I was paying attention to that. Yeah, it smells like a .com boom, blah, 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 blah. Thank you, trader, for letting us know you invested in yourself. We'll get to that. We'll get to tonight's poll question a little bit later. That's funny. I like the way you worded that. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow. Ken Griffin gets it. He and I on this point are on the same page. Then I was watching the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, and Satya Nadella also at the World Economic Forum. And they were talking about AI. And Satya Nadella is going off on a tangent talking about where your data center is not the problem. Your data sovereignty is the problem. I've been saying that for a long time. Why do you think my company has our own 10 nodes of LLMs and, LLM rigs running around so that we can do our own? We don't send our data out. We don't send client data out. We use our own implementations. And I sat there and I'm like, this is Microsoft, who has got AI shoved so far up your behind. I had to call for a trouble ticket the other day, and the person handling the ticket completely removed from anything AI, right? It's all about Azure. So, have you tried Copilot? Yo, I wanted to reach through the phone and just snap this guy's neck. Are you serious? So I said, you know what? If you're going to ask me a stupid question, I'm going to hand it to you. I'm going to hand you the answer. You're not going to like it, and I'm going to make sure you don't like it. And I handed him the only answer I could possibly give. Copilot turns Microsoft into Microslop. What? What do you mean? I was like, well, I don't use Copilot. I will never use Copilot. I don't want Copilot on any of my machines. I don't like how Microsoft doesn't give you the ability to not, have to upgrade, which is probably why we're all going to switch over to Linux. But that's another story. Anyway, I said, you don't have user sovereignty over your data. You don't have data sovereignty. If you do not have data sovereignty, that means at the basic level, you are giving away your tacit knowledge. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. You done lost your damn mind. Your thoughts on Greenland for AI data cooling. I heard remotely that was somebody's idea. Yeah, sure, fine, whatever. But they've also been dropping data centers into the ocean because the ocean is nice and cold. We don't need it. We don't need it. And that says that big business wants Greenland. Think about that. Anyway, so Red Star, I hope that answers your question. Thank you for that, by the way. Let me put a nice little like on that. I appreciate you, man. Whenever you have, I love that. He knows that whenever he has a question, he can get me to stop mid-sentence by tossing a couple of beans to support our channel, support our community. That's freaking hot. I appreciate you, man. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening to Satya Nadella go off. He's not discussing it. He is going off about your data sovereignty. This is Microsoft talking about your data sovereignty. Who knew? And Larry Fink was sitting there going, yeah, that's right. Larry Fink is a really smart dude. You had two really, 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 really smart people on the stage that actually understand things, and they were both saying the same thing. Your data sovereignty is everything. If you are not in control of your data, it's not your data. And then the big question becomes, are you a company? Because you're giving your data to another party, some LLM company. It's their data now. It's happened to companies previously because I'm not going to say shady, but the rules of engagement, Red Star, I'll get to in a second. The rules of engagement from some of these companies, like an OpenAI, were not necessarily clear about whether or not your data would get used. And that was if you're using the front end ChatGPT version versus the API version. And remember, for a while, they were separate. Now they've put them together and you can do stuff. But they were separate. And if you're using the API, well, whatever you do with it, that's your data. And then, but it's the same thing. It was the same technology, just on two separated sides. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. If you were using ChatGPT, they had all rights to use your data. What's the difference between the two? I'm using an API or I'm using your interface. What's the difference between the two? And then down the road, they combine them. Where's your user sovereignty? Have you read over all of the contracts? I don't mean glossed over them. I mean, have you read them to see what's in that contract, to see if your data remains your data? And for small business owners, I'm talking to you. For medium-sized business owners, I'm talking to you. For Fortune frickin' 500 companies, I'm talking to you. Have you actually read those contracts? When you send over your code to be reviewed because you're using, ChatGPT or some OpenAI or Claude or whatever to refactor code, is that code yours? Or did you just give that code over to somebody else? You gave away your secret sauce, didn't you? You gave away your secret sauce, didn't you? Yeah, Because what you should have done is you should have had your architects sit down and build you your own implementation of AI. And when you say, oh, you can't do that, are you kidding me? I do this every day. Me and my team, we do this every day. Yes, you can. And it can save you a boatload of money. Hold on a second. I mean, from the perspective of the USA and the AI global race, if we take it over to compete with China's underwater centers. What do you think? China's the only country, the only, entity that's got these? No, Microsoft's been putting data centers underwater for like ages. For ages. China's not the only place that's doing it. Do we need that? We have Alaska, bro. We have Alaska. We don't need Greenland. I'm dead serious. We don't need it at all. It's all a red herring. It's all a red herring. Don't buy into it, is what I would say. That's what I would say to my kids. Don't buy into that. What do we need it for? What do they give us that we don't already have? The answer is nothing. Dead serious. If you look at what we would get out of Greenland based on what we can't already have, we already have access to everything. They gave us access to everything already. So what do we need? To spend money we don't have? To buy something we don't need? And ta-da. Right? So I hope that answers your question. If I don't, just let me know. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, so we have a huge risk where there's so much money tied up around AI. And NVIDIA would absolutely take a hit. NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, Oracle, everybody would take a hit. Everybody would take a hit. But in terms of a chip manufacturer that would actually survive, you want to know who that is? NVIDIA. You want to know why? They would take the hit because, that bubble would, right now air is coming out, but it's not bursting, just air is leaking. But if you look at where NVIDIA is right now, they can handle it because their revenue can come from many different places. They could easily get back into the retail space, and there's tons of business there. Micron could reintroduce their RAM into the retail space, but for right now, you've made it impossible for anybody to be able to build their own machines. When my son was in single digits, he helped me build my own server. From going to the store with me to buy the box, to building the case that we were going to put it in. Like, we built a rack, right? We had a server that we built, and then we had a mail server and a web hosting server right there in our house because we had the pipe brought in. And my little boy helped me do it. Had his little tool belt on. He was helping me do stuff. I would have him hold me. I would hold this for me. Don't move. Just hold it right there. All right, tighten this up. Yeah, I put him to work. You can't do that anymore. The price would be astronomical, and that would be if you could get what you need. Getting the CPU, easy. Get the GPU, that could be a little tight. That could be a little tight. Getting the RAM, damn near impossible. Motherboard, power supply, all that other stuff, yeah, easy peasy. Everything else, good luck with that. Can't build your own machine. Why were people building their own machines? Gaming rigs. You think we'll go from AI craze to quantum computing craze? And in your humble opinion, quantum computing is a far way off. To finish off what I'm talking about with AI, I think AI versus the internet bubble or the .com boom and bust, it's going to be the same thing. You'll see the phoenix rise from the ashes, except that it'll be smarter, it'll probably be faster, it'll probably be more painful. AI is useful, but I can tell you now the road that they're driving down right now for AI, that you're not going to get to AGI. You're not going to get to AGI, which is what that's the holy grail. Going down that road, you're not going to get there. You're going to have to go down a different road. Ta-da! So that's going to be different. Quantum computing, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Computer manufacturers out there right now are projecting maybe 2030, we might have machines that can do quantum computing, that are ready to sell retail-wise. Even if, retail putting it in data center, stuff like that, maybe you'll be there. And here's the other part. Quantum computing is not the same as regular computing. It's used for different things. So quantum computing might not be the panacea that everybody thinks it's going to be as well. What I find is that everybody that wants to make money, they start screaming that this is the best thing since sliced bread, knowing damn well that it's not. Go buy that book by Karen Howe. What's the name of it again? I forgot what it was, but I believe her name is Karen Howe. Go read that book. That'll talk to you all about OpenAI and, AI in general, like where it comes from, how it is, how that company moves, how Sam Altman moves, all that stuff. And you'll start to understand what's going on. A bunch of really smart people that look down upon women in the space that are also really smart, in a lot of cases smarter. Just saying. But a bunch of dudes that can't take that a woman might be smarter than them. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it and I'm just saying AI is going to be interesting. But I think a lot of companies are going to fail because when they implemented AI, it wasn't based on having solutions. Right? So it was, to me, is a useful tool, a very useful tool. But if you're not thinking about solutions and you're just implementing for the sake of implementing, I know a company that, like I said, spent millions of dollars building a solution that didn't need to be built because the company that they were working with were already going to build the solution. So now that company released their new version of the software, they spent millions of dollars on nothing. They didn't even have it fully rolled out. Didn't even have it fully rolled out across the firm. You just blew a lot of money. Pause, how are you? Thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at what Satya Nadella had to say. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to what Larry Fink had to say. I'm sitting here listening to what Ken Griffin had to say. And you had three of the most powerful people in business all say the same thing. All say the same thing. You're off on a tangent. You're too far over the edge. Jamie Dimon, give me a moment, Hutanik. Jamie Dimon made me choke on it. I choked because it was, I don't know if he meant to say it like that, but what he said and how he said it was so callous that I was taken aback by it. Yeah, well, OpenAI is here and, AI could outpace society. And, then we'll have to figure it out. Is it going to take away jobs? Yeah, sure. Is it going to solve a lot of problems? Yup. Will it create some jobs? Most likely. What? You're damn sure about losing jobs, but you're not sure about creating jobs? So callous that and you can't get mad over the delivery, right? Like, I can't get mad over the delivery, but everything he was saying was absolutely dead on. It was correct. It was just callous. It was almost tone deaf. People are cringing about what's going to happen with their, I'm on camera.
It's a guest appearance.
Everybody, this is my son.
How you doing? It's the best dad in America. He knows everything.
I don't know everything.
More than all you guys know.
No.
Listen to my dad.
That's just my son. And I don't know everything. Love you, boo-boo.
Love you too.
So, yeah, those are the moments I live for. Those are the moments I live for. Nothing. I'm going to tell you now, nothing on this planet means anything to me compared to my kids. So that was me letting him know that, hey, I'm on camera, in case he didn't want his face on camera. But I'm always going to want a hug. Just saying. But yeah, of course I'm blushing. It's my son. And when I tell you that me and my son and I are looking at, different business ideas and everything else, that's the one. And that shirt that he was wearing, that's from his cookie store. They've got 5. But I'm looking at it, and like I said, I can't get mad at Jamie Dimon over how he delivered something. It was honest, and it's true. All of these billionaires and top executives were basically saying that everybody else is ahead of their skis. They're all ahead of their skis. And I was like, oh, how long have I been talking about AI? How long have I been talking about how to implement AI solutions? Not AI, but AI solutions. And they just hit it on the head. They're sitting there and they're going, the money that's going to be required for any of these companies to actually make money from it is a ridiculous number. Ken Griffin was like, I don't know how you get there from here. That's the bubble. So yeah, when I talk to you guys about do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. This is why. I know a lot of you are just like, oh my God, this guy's going to say it again. Oh my God, I can't do. But this is why. So it's not an if, it's a when is it going to explode or implode, depending on what you're looking at. And let me tell you something. I still have a ton of news. We might not even get to it all. But you can go to growmybag.tv and you can see the articles there. But I felt that is huge because it hits so many different industries at once. And some of you might not have put this together, but weren't there a whole lot of miners that flipped their systems over to be, or part of their systems over to do AI away from Bitcoin? So what does that mean? What's the risk there? The risk is that they're going to eat it because they might not be needed. That brings everything down a bit. Did you see? Hold it. I got to get back to what you said before it disappears. I was just Greenland was bait to get out of. Yeah, I'm not having that. That's a political comment. I don't care about that. Central banks are not a solution. Yeah, you know how I tell you guys to listen to Fed speak all the time? Davos is something you should be paying attention to. I didn't think I'd have to say it, but yes, if you look at that, yeah, Christine Lagarde got out there and said, yeah, central banks are not necessarily a solution. The IMF told the EU to get its act together. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm a fan of IMF, but they're not wrong. When we had a recession before, who took the largest hit in that recession? Say it with me. Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain. They took it on the chin. Like what the Louisville Slugger level took it on the chin. A couple of those countries were selling government property to make ends meet. Stop and think about that. Christine Lagarde is not stupid. She could have been sipping on anything. That woman is not stupid. She's one of the smartest people on the planet. I don't discount what anybody has to say. I go try to find corroborating information. I do not judge that particular thing. I go figure out, do I already have corroborating information? I've seen it before. Or I go out and I try to go find it. Information regarding that topic and see if it corroborates, does it make the case or not make the case? And Christine Lagarde, none of these people were talking about anything that isn't true. Me coming into alignment with IMF saying, hey, EU needs to get their act together. They do. Are you not looking at these countries? Let me tell you something. I was one of my connections, Eric Balkunis over at Bloomberg, posted something, and it was, I actually giggled when I read it. He came out with the chart and everything. I actually giggled when I read it. He was basically like, listen, they can talk all the nonsense they want to talk, but the rest of the world knows they can't dump U.S. debt. China's trickling it out. India's trickling it out. I think we should stomp on India. Not physically, but I mean economically. We should stomp on India. We really should. Anyway, because China dropped $6.1 billion, and who is it? India dropped $4.2 billion in U.S. treasuries. Just like that. Drip here, drip here, drip here, drip here, drip here. They've been doing it for a while. Drip, 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 drip. Right? Everybody's trying to drip it out. But who's buying? You can't just dump it. You dump it and you're basically saying, we're going to devalue the dollar. Oh crap, we're going to devalue the dollar. Oh, you devalued it. Oh, so now the value of a dollar is what? Zero? What are you going to do? We owe you nothing now. You going to attack us? We could blow up this planet like 50 bazillion times. So that would be stupid. That could be stupid. But Eric Balchunas was like, yeah, you can't dump our debt. You need the United States the same way the United States needs you. And I was just like, oh, that's, again, not wrong. Eric Balchunas is one of the smartest people on the planet. And I was just like, oh, all he does all day long is analyze stuff. Yeah, the U.S. is buying, but who are they going to dump it on? Come on, work with me. Work with me. And they're only going to buy but so much. They're only going to buy what they have to buy. And what are they going to buy with? We're gonna buy it with the money that we owe you, or we're gonna borrow to telling you, it's a symbiotic relationship. Every country is involved with every country, is involved with every country, is involved with every country. But we're looking at so many risks. Right now, my risk list completely blows away my opportunities list, rather. Except for one thing. It would be painful for things to happen. Yes, stablecoins. Ham's house. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for letting us know you invest in yourself. But I'm looking at the idea of you ditch our debt. Okay. And then what? And then what? I was looking at mortgage rates. Last year, the mortgage rates were 6.97% on average. And right now, they came in at 6.06% on average. Here's something else that people don't understand. Mortgage rates are not directly correlated to the Fed's rates. The Fed's rates only affect banks that want to borrow money. It's the cost of money. Okay? That's why bring down the rates, bring down the rates, bring down the rates. That's all it does. Those banks do not have to turn around and put that over on the mortgage side. Not at all. They don't. A couple of times they didn't. We dropped 25 basis points, nothing. Over a year, it's come down. Over the past 12 months, it's come down from 6.97 to 6.06. That's great. But here's the problem. It's not going to stay there. It's not going to stay there. Our trajectory says not going to stay there. If the dollar went to zero, what would the stable coin be worth? That's what I'm talking about. That's the one. I ask that question all the time. Let's just, what happens? So I don't know. I seriously doubt the dollar is going to go to zero. That's number one. And whatever the stable coin would be pegged to the dollar. If the dollar goes down, the value of the stable coin goes down. $1 is still going to be $1. It'll just be, you won't be able to buy anything with that dollar. Or what you'd have to do with that dollar in the United States is get 1 million of them. That's why when you go to other countries, it's like a million pesos or something like that. In different countries, you have millions and millions that equal $10. See what I mean? That's where we would be headed. But, being pegged to the dollar, it'd still be pegged to the dollar. The question would be, do you want to have anything denominated in the dollar? There you go. So you start looking at things a bit differently. They will take dollars no matter how worthless they are. I don't believe that. I understand what you're saying. I don't know that I buy into that though. Because I heard somebody say it earlier today and it was almost profound. Here's what they said. So the world rather has been ruled by the superpowers. Whichever superpower you're aligned with, you do what they say. And that's basically how it's been done. So you have the superpowers, you have the middle of the road countries, and then you have everybody else. And they all follow their respective superpowers. You just had the middle of the road countries just say, we need to change. We need to change. For good or for bad, Canada said, maybe we need to go talk to China. And they did. For good or for bad, maybe we need to go talk to China. That's what's up. And you start to realize, holy crap. Again, for good or bad, we've got to do a deal with China. We cannot be continuously married to the United States because we don't know what the heck those crazy people down south are going to do. So everybody coming down on Canada for making the decision that they made, understand that. Understand that, dynamic. They are looking at it from a perspective of, we can no longer follow the superpower we've been following. It's a mistake. Who here can raise their hand and say they're wrong? They might not like the deal that they cut. They might not like who they cut it with. But the fact that they can actually say, we have to make a change, and the rest of the world is saying the same thing. The rest of the world is saying the same thing. Things have to change. So these middle countries are saying, oh, we got to change. So everybody's starting to make their own deals. They're starting to make deals amongst each other. They're strengthening themselves. You got to pay attention to those things. That's huge. It's huge. If you stop looking at what's going on around the world, you're going to fail. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt yourself. You have to start looking outside the United States for your news. What's going on economically in these other countries? Where do they stand? As a matter of fact, whatever country you are in, always look beyond your own country for news. Because what they report on other countries from within your country might not be what's actually going on. You've got to get your news from that country to understand what's going on. And that will give you a clearer picture. It's no joke. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. That is the GMB3 Ham's house. Again, a political statement. Stop making political statements. It's not about power. We're talking about economically. Economically, those three countries are broke. Who you running the board on? You're broke. I mean, technically, China is not, right? Supposedly, they have a $1 trillion surplus. Maybe. But they're positioned better than the United States, that's for sure. Russia should have nothing to say. They really shouldn't. Gold and silver hitting psychological levels at the same time is giving. Yup. We're not in a simulation, sadly enough. Right? Sadly enough, this is real world. Now, this could have been a simulation years ago, and the simulation is now playing out. So the question is, who remembers what the end result was from those simulations? Very few people know. Why do you think all these billionaires are building freaking bunkers underground? Why do you think they're doing that? What else do you buy when you can buy anything? Why wouldn't you? I told you before, a partner of mine, not a partner, but a friend of mine and I were going to go start a business, and we were going to go buy decommissioned missile silos. Yep. But economically, the globe is not doing all that well. Certain places are doing okay, other places not so well. But I got to tell you, some of these smaller nations are really popping up and making their way and making it happen. Others not so much, but a couple of them are just popping up and going, "Oh, we got this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this." Yeah. You got to start thinking about this stuff from a higher level. The chessboard has changed. I don't even know that we're playing chess anymore. We might have stepped up to mahjong or something. It's a hard game. I haven't learned how to play it yet. I don't want to learn how to play it by watching videos. I want to play with somebody that can teach me. Hey Paula, thanks for letting us know you invested in yourself. But the news that I'm seeing right now, BitGo's IPO, they were at 18, hit 24, came back down to 20. Not bad, but I'm thinking they're going to come back lower again. Just saying. Kingsport, Tennessee approved zoning changes for crypto mining and data centers. That's nice. Again, they don't necessarily have the money. AI as an industry might not have the money, but if you can make a couple of bucks because they have a need and you've got the land that can fulfill the need, well, do your thing. Do your thing. The only thing I would say is do not give them discounts. Don't give them tax write-offs. Stop doing that. Because that means that when they take a hit, you get nothing. Don't do that. Do not do that. It's amazing. I'm telling you, I'm just looking at things. The world financial systems may have two major monetary values, the US dollar and the common money in the BRICS nations. What will be the common money? 1. 2, I have it in the back of my head that I just don't see BRICS as a solid reason. I see things moving to digital assets. How long did the CD last before the DVD came along, before complete digital transmission came along? See where I'm going? I don't know that that's going to work. I do not know that that's going to work. So I'm looking at it all and I'm just like, yeah, BRICS comes along, the dollar does poorly, BRICS nations aren't doing all that great. Digital assets. Move faster, have value, can move other things. Who's going to care about fiat anymore? Who's going to care about fiat anymore? Coinbase, to talk about quantum, Coinbase now has a board to look into quantum computing. What could happen with that? Wow. D-Mac into his house. D-Mac, have you invested in yourself today? It's not going to work. They are telling the world they are changing to digital money. Everybody, thank you for letting us know you invest in yourself. Everybody wants to change to digital money, and they are moving quickly in that direction. Who gives a crap about your digital yuan? Who cares? Who cares that certain BRICS nations are accepting the renminbi? Nobody's going to care. When everything starts to really open up, I think everything's going to go digital assets. I think if we move to BRICS, it'll be for a hot, quick second, because I think that's when everybody's going to go, I don't trust you. Why would I want to move to that? And they're going to go, but Bitcoin and all these other things can maneuver value and all the other good stuff. How about we do business in that? I don't trust your fiat. You don't trust my fiat. Let's do that. Boom, done. Next thing you know, things are moving along. Easier to understand the value because everybody's using the same N number of digital assets. Remember when I said that governments need to start figuring out what they're going to do about their fiat? Those conversations need to happen sooner rather than later, don't they? I've been saying it for how many years? You're going to have that conversation sooner or later. And they're all just waiting with their thumbs up their butts. Nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to be on the hook for those decisions. Remember Brexit? Yeah, nobody wants that. But they're going to have to have those conversations. What are we going to do about our fiat? What are we going to do about it? We devalue the dollar. The dollar is still the dollar. You just need more dollars to buy something compared to whoever else's fiat. Well, if you devalue the dollar, you could actually wind up devaluing everybody else. Because your economies are not stronger than ours. See how that rolls out? And I'm just like, wow, how come people aren't getting it? But meanwhile, I heard 3 or 4 people completely dissect a new industry like it was nothing. People that move money, that know money, and they did that in a heartbeat. Like boom, 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 boom. Just broke down AI in a heartbeat. They are way down the road thinking about what's coming and seeing what's coming. They're so far ahead of everybody because they're flying drones that are flying up above that can tell them, hey, you should make a left over there. And I'm just saying, they're not doing anything that nobody else can do. They're just doing it. So does that mean Bitcoin will be pegged to the price of gold? Maybe. Who knows? But gold doesn't get pegged. Gold is gold. Gold has a certain value. So if I'm looking at a peso or a renminbi, a ruble, whatever else it is, a drachma, whatever, gold is gold. Gold is gold. The biggest problem we had was running up our debt, which is one of the reasons why we got off of being pegged to gold. We ran up our debt, right? As soon as we went over to getting off of gold, well, that iced our debt. Done. Well, now we've done it again. We're so good at managing money that we've done it again. And now we've got to figure out a way to solve our debt problem. The problem is that the whole world has debt and we've all got to figure it out. Yeah. How's that work? Here's something else for us to chew on. It's being said that China has a surplus, but their real estate market imploded. How do they have a surplus? Like, I have a problem trying to figure out their numbers, is what I'm saying. I'm having a problem figuring that out. How's that work? I'm telling you, there are a lot of things that we need to be paying attention to, and we need to start paying attention to all this stuff like all the time. And not be taken away by stupidity like JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon are being sued for $5 billion for allegedly debanking the current regime when he was no longer the current regime. That should not be surprising considering he had been blacklisted from U.S. banks for a long time. That's why he went to Deutsche Bank. But he's going to try to sue for $5 billion. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. You were a risk. They can point to their records and be like, he was a risk. No, we didn't debank him. He did that to himself. A pause. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's going to go well. The global stablecoin market faces consolidation due to regulatory pressures, liquidity constraints, and rising U.S. Treasury yields, with stablecoin issuance slowing after a $19 billion deleveraging shock in October. All true. China may have a surplus, but I hope they ain't counting the U.S. debt they owe. Own, not owe. Let me think about that for a second. I really didn't have to think about it for a second. That's actually funny. I was trying to hold it in. Yeah, you have a point. Like, what's your real surplus? $1 trillion. Woohoo! The United States owes you 1 point something trillion. How is that? Basically what Rick Ritchie is saying, how are you counting that? How's that being calculated? And like I said, I'm bringing up your commercial real estate market imploded. You had a couple of things implode. How's that calculation happening? So I'm just saying. So what's their hope? We're going to flood the market with cheap AI. Not cheap in terms of quality, cheap in terms of it doesn't cost a lot to run because you can run it yourself. I know because, like I said, we run 10 different rigs and it costs me nothing to use AI. I don't have to worry about the cost of tokens. I laugh at everybody. Oh, the tokens, costing me a lot of money. I laugh. I get my giggle on. You know how funny it is when I stand in front of a client and I whip out my laptop, and on my laptop I have my own LLM running, getting the same answers that they're getting out of their very expensive contracts with third parties that have their data, and all of my data is right there. Oof. Yeah. We have a lot of things that we need to be tracking. There's a lot of news that I didn't get to tonight. 21 Shares launched the third Dogecoin ETF T-Dog on NASDAQ. What meme coin ETF just launched on NASDAQ today? It was Dogecoin. I think one person got it tonight. Maybe a couple. Not everybody puts everything in the comments. But there's a lot of stuff going on. Tonight we published I think it was 19 articles. 19 articles. And they've just been sitting there waiting for approvals and that kind of stuff. 19 articles. Because we go throughout the day. Just saying, there's a lot of stuff going on that we need to pay attention to, and you guys need to start paying closer attention. And bring the conversation over to growmybag.tv. There's a feed. The big baggers have a feed, and there's a feed for everybody to take in on. There's the regular feed and the group feeds. Each group will have its own feed. Big baggers is a group. It has its own feed. But everybody can take part in the general feed and keep the conversation going. Share information, that kind of stuff. But share information that's going to affect or could possibly affect other people's bags. If you're unsure, then write out why you think this piece of information is going to hurt or help everybody's bags or some people's bags. It's a big deal. Anyway, my son is home, so I'm going to go. And as always, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. I know I said it backwards. And as always, thank you for your trust. Everybody have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow morning on the daily. Like I said, bring the conversation over to growmybag.tv because that's where we're going to be going forward. That is really where we're shooting toward. It's a whole social media platform dedicated to investing. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much. Have a great night. See you tomorrow morning.